Hello, welcome to Young, Aware and Becoming, where we take a step back and explore who we are, where we are, and how we choose to move forward. In this series, we're going to be having conversations with the youth around identity, around the struggle, around liberation, and then we're going to be referencing Steve Biko's Black Consciousness and the Black Consciousness movement. We're going to be talking about psychological liberation, what it means to be free, and what it means to be conscious. Are we really conscious? Are we really free from oppression and topics like that?
Changes which are to come can only come as a result of a program worked out by Black people. And for Black people to be able to work out a program, they need to defeat the one main element in politics which was working against them, and this was the psychological feeling of inferiority.
So today's conversation is going to be around psychological liberation. As Steve Biko said, that the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So today we're going to be asking ourselves, have we truly freed our minds from the oppression that we have been through during apartheid? So the first question that we're going to be answering is, what is Black consciousness? To you guys, what does Black consciousness mean before we can talk about it?
Okay, first I want to give a definition of Steve Biko's Black consciousness. Steve Biko says that Black consciousness in essence is the realization by the Black man for the need to rally around with his brothers around the cause of their oppression, which is the blackness of their skin, and to operate in a group in order to rid themselves of the oppression which bind them to perpetual servitude. So I think Black consciousness to me is being aware of your position. It's being aware that you are being oppressed because of the skin of your color, the color of your skin. I think it's being aware that you're oppressed because you're Black. Yeah, I think being fully aware of it, because I think the starting point is to be aware.
Okay, so that's what we're going to be discussing with the psychological liberation. It starts with the mind. Right? You tell yourself that, you know what, I am Black and I am worthy of freedom. And then I'm, not just inferior to this white people. So do you think we are truly psychologically liberated as young Black people today? What do you think?
Well, the current status or the current political conjuncture still negates the Black person, still situates Black people within this framework that Black people are not enough, Black people are not worthy, and situates whiteness with greatness, with beauty, with intelligence, So I think we're not yet free from the mind. We still suffer from inferiority complex, because we know that to be white is to be good and to be Black is to be wrong. The image of Blackness is just negated, So I don't think we are free from this inferiority complex, because even with xenophobia, if we can hate another Black person, that means we're not really free, Yeah.
Just to add on to what you're saying, I was going to add on to say that even within the Black society, being light-skinned is better than being dark-skinned. Colorism outside of even like white people. So if we still think that, and we still think having white friends is cooler than having Black friends, or going to a school where you're the only Black is better than being in a school where you're surrounded by people who look like you, then absolutely not. I don't think that we are completely free, like what she said.
So we as young Black people, do you think that we are actually aware of like the liberation that we need, like where we have to start, because as Steve Biko said, we have to start with the mind. Are we aware that we have to start with the mind, or we just have to embrace being Black on the outside and not really, delve into that?
I think I don't think I think Marx talks about it. I feel like we're living in a false consciousness. I don't think people even do it intentionally.
Okay.
People they're not aware. They're not aware, and I see this in how. And actually, I don't even think that we're not aware. I believe that everything you live around you shapes you, and it tells you who you are. So if you grow up in a home where, or not in a home, but in a society where wearing weaves instead of having an afro is seen as better, you grow up in a home where the minute you're light-skinned, you're automatically pretty. You grow up to be told that it means that is what is seen as beautiful. Yes, as ideal, like what you're saying. So I know, I don't think, a false consciousness. I don't think people actually know. Yeah, I don't think they're aware.
I do agree with Wanga. People are not aware, like they're not conscious of their I don't know how to put it, but people are not conscious because of, look at here at school, if you don't have a Steve Madden bag and then people see you as like someone who doesn't have money or something else, right? And then when you come from a poor background, people view you as someone who doesn't have money, people who their parents didn't go to school, and stuff like that.
Okay, so you said something about false consciousness and the environment, right? So is it possible to be psychologically free if we still live in a system that treats black lives as disposable, like the way we are being treated? Does it give us space to be conscious, to like tap out of this false consciousness that we're living in? You know.
Do you want to go first? No, I your question, I hear what you're saying. I'm saying, you see how you said the society, if the system tells you that you're not worth it, there's no way that you can live up to believe that you're worth it. And I base everything on the economy. So if you come from a poor background, or because in South Africa, to be black is to be poor.
Yes.
And to be rich is to be white.
Yeah.
So basically, there is no way that you can believe that black is better if you're living in an environment that disadvantages you. There is no way that you can believe that to be black is to be good. If black kids are the ones that are excluded from institutions, if black kids are the ones who don't have places to stay, and I think in townships, when you live in a township, because you're surrounded by people like that, it becomes very difficult to know what the outside world looks like. But when you come to institutions like this, where you see a diversity of people, where you be like, oh, okay, so there white people have cars, white students have cars, and so no, you can't. I don't even think the mind is the base. I think the system.
The system is the base.
If you grow up in a good home, or you grow up in a home where you're told being black is beautiful, there is no way that you can grow up and think it's not. So if the system can change, automatically the mind will change. Because the white people don't have to wake up every day and tell themselves, I'm beautiful, I'm good. They automatically know it because they come from a place which tells them without someone having to actually vocally say it.
Okay, makes sense.
I 100% agree with Wanga. Black lives are so cheap in this country. They're disposable. We are made to. We feel we black every day coming into institutions like Wits, where when we don't have money, they will exclude you on the basis that you cannot afford. Where we struggle, we are landless. We struggle with accommodation issues. To be black is this. We live in this zone, like Fanon says, of non-being. Yeah, so it's very difficult to unwind and untangle yourself from the space that negates you. Like Biko says, township life alone makes it a miracle for one to live up to adulthood. Like those spaces are riddled with crime. There is no space to live or to exist in a black world. Yeah, so it's very difficult. So I think we need to take the economy into our hands. We need to. That's how I think we can free ourselves from this perpetual servitude. Yeah.
Okay.
I also wanted to add to say that If black people were aware or conscious of like maybe they are being exploited or they are being like capitalized, I think people, the economic structure would maybe shift into doing right things, whereby like also black people would start being conscious of who they are, where they come from, and there won't be like exclusion from varsities where people like need a place to stay or people don't have food to eat, you know, or having to worry about what to do the next day, where to look for a job, right? As you can see that we have like a high unemployment rate here in South Africa. So I also wanted to add that.
Okay, so I hear your point and I do agree, right, from let's say an economic point of view. So if we're going to talk about economics, how about like the inequality, the structural inequality that we're facing in South Africa? Because we do have black people who are like doing good, right? What about them? Does this mean that they are free? Does it, you know, on anyway?
You know, it's like this question of black excellence, right? It's who gets to be black, to be labeled as black excellence. We need to question that. Is that people that normally are labeled as black excellence are people that have integrated into this capitalist system, or people that also exploit other black people once they've integrated into the system. So really, I don't have a good relationship with the term black excellence or people that make it, because for you to make it, it's built on some like your billionaires, like your Practice Motsepe. It's built on the exploitation of black people. So is that something that we're really going to celebrate?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's just a mere black person but doing the same thing white people are doing, you understand?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just to add on to what you were saying, I think after apartheid we were sold the, what do they call it in sociology, a utopia, you know. We were sold the rainbow nation idea, and white people in you see, even like when a black child graduates, it's like, black child, you did that. I don't like the term black child because it gives this idea that you, against all odds, you fought to get out. Like you're not, they don't owe it to you for you to have that. White kids graduating is standard. It's like you're supposed to get a degree, you know. So even with black excellence, the few that make it to the top, we make it seem like, you know, black excellence. It's not black excellence, because in the white population, small as they are, very little of them are at the bottom. It's normal to have a good lifestyle. So, and like what she's saying, the crazy thing is false consciousness again. The little black people who make it to the top, they then become, they live in a state of false consciousness where not only do they forget the old people, the other black people, but they exploit them. If we're going to bring it to a student level, if you come from a township, the little few who come to university, you forget where you come from and you think, okay, you're climbing the successive ladder, when in actual fact you're not. And that's what the system wants to do. It wants to make us believe that if you work hard enough and you climb the ladder, they can be black excellence. But in millions of us, who are the few, like you're saying, who are these people who we say are black excellence people? It's people who assimilate with white people. It's people who exploit capitalism. It's people who exploit other black people. So I think that's something that we should ask ourselves too.
You mentioned something like you're a black child but you do good, but still you don't have like those opportunities. If you look at how black people, they get like excluded from the workplace. If you're black, maybe you're not given a higher position, or maybe you are treated as inferior like other black people. You know, at some point I just wish we could come to Marxist term of communism and socialism, whereby like black people overthrow capitalism. They realize that they are being exploited. They realize that they are used or treated as inferior, and then come together, work together to prevent all this and overthrow these systems. And you
know, when you were talking about if a black person makes it, are they still free? You know, I'm thinking of the when Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of this country, went to the Oval House and he went to explain to Donald Trump that there's no white genocide, the way he was treated, the way as if he was just a little boy answering to his master. So the power relations that in that structure, that the white man will always have the upper hand over the black man. Yeah.
Crazy. So there is no black excellence, because even those black people, there is white people above them. So it's not a thing of you don't become equals. Fanon talks about it in Black Skin White Masks, where even when you leave the little township or that little thing that's confiding you and you make it to the top, you're not going to be equal to a white person. And just like what she said, because if you're going to talk about black excellence, President Ramaphosa is one of the examples. He went to the Oval House, but he wasn't treated as an equal to Donald Trump. They are both presidents, but they weren't treated the same. And why? Because he's black. So we can both be at the top, but even at the top, there is a hierarchy. And black people are at the bottom of it. Absolutely.
Okay, I feel like from so far, from the conversation that we have, I don't want to say this is completely how things are, but I just feel like from the conversation that we just had right now, we are still oppressed.
Absolutely.
You know, as a black person, we are still oppressed, because from what you guys are saying is that, you know, even though black excellence does not mean black excellence, it means that, you know what, I am closer to someone who's white, you know, and I have people beneath me, you know. It does not mean that I'm on the top, and you know, stuff like that. And I feel like going back to the whole psychological liberation, you know, and like you said, you think that the base is the economy, is not the mind. It's the system. The system. It's the system, and then it is the mind, and then, you know, we go from there. So as black people, this youth man, as black youth, what is it that we can do? You know, what is the step forward? Because the system itself is just telling us that, you know what, you are black and you are black. You know, that's what you are. You are black. Even if you make it, you are still black. Even if you get out of this environment that you are in, you are still black. You are going to be reminded every day that you are black. But as the black youth, I feel like this is where it has to start. You know, the liberation has to start with us.
Absolutely.
What do we say? What do we do? How do we start? You know, what do you guys think? What do you think? What do you guys think?
Can do?
Yeah.
I think for me, what I was gonna say is to say that the first thing that we can do is, Fanon says that even Biko says it, that to be conscious is one thing, to realize that black is beautiful, black is better, but consciousness doesn't change reality. So even if we can now, as all black people, get to a point where we say we are black and we are proud, it won't change the fact that you're poor. So what I believe we can do is that I don't believe that we can't change the system. We can. We can change the system, and we've started. The black, not even blacks, but the black youth is not lost. That's one thing I know, and we see it in how fees must fall. So we're not just sitting and doing nothing. If you look at fees must fall, if you look at roads must fall was even an epitome example of black consciousness, because they wanted to remove a statue which represented racial oppression. Fees must fall. So if black youth can come together, they can overthrow the system. We voted last year. That's where it starts. We voted last year, and now that we are becoming conscious, it shouldn't end at saying that I am black, but it should be to say that I want my vote to change the way that things are. Free decolonized education. If we can have free decolonized education, because another thing is to say, for you to even get to that black excellence we're talking about, you need to enter spaces like institutions. But how are you going to enter those institutions if you don't even have the finances to do that? How can you say? So for me, it's to say, even if we get to a point where you say we are conscious, we have rights, how are we conscious if you are going to be drowning in student debt before you even enter the labor market? Where you're going to work 3 jobs, but you still can't afford to pay rent. And then you say that, but I'm black and I'm proud. I would rather be able to pay for my rent, and it won't matter to me whether I'm black and proud. So skin, yes, and the color of our skin was used to oppress us. But now that that's not being used to oppress us, what's being used to oppress us is the fact that we are poor. So I think coming together as the youth.
Okay, I think, you know, Marx says that philosophers have interpreted the world in various ways, but the point is, however, to change it. So I think the black youth must participate in politics, so we shape our future. We must take a stand, join activism, participate in rooms where we shape our lives and shape how the trajectory is gonna go. You understand? So yeah, I think we must participate in politics. We must be very active in society when we want to change it. Yeah, that's what I think.
To add on top of what Leo said, I wanted to say that those rooms where decisions are made by the upper structure, in terms of South Africa or things in general that are happening in South Africa, I think the youth should participate more in those rooms, because of that's where decisions are made, and then they don't even know what decisions are made, right? Also, I feel like the youth, if they start like participating, like Lebo said, in politics, right? Well, they don't have to be into like politics like that much, but like if they participate, right, if they vote like Wanga said, I think that should also like work. And yeah, that would also mean that we're going back to Marxist term of socialism and communism, whereby people work together to overthrow the capitalist system. Yes.
Okay, I understand where you guys are coming from, and I understand your points. You're talking about inclusive participation, right? And then we're going back to the whole. There's always what's this thing, a white master. You get what I'm saying? So the question is around what's this thing, the ability to participate. You know, do we have equal opportunities to participate, especially if we have someone who's a master and someone that. This is the person that we are fighting against. We're fighting against the master. Do you think we're going to get into those spaces if we're trying to, to challenge the system?
I think we can, because I do think, because I feel like where it starts, the master has what we don't have.
Okay.
They have resources, they have the knowledge. I believe that education is very important.
Very.
I used to tell Lebo all the time to say that in terms of education, it's important because education gets you in rooms where if you don't have it, you can't enter into those rooms. So, for example, if we are to look at, if you want to change the laws which oppress black people, you need to study law. So, the first thing is to ask ourselves, what is it that, because back then the whites, they could just oppress us and we didn't know, but now we know. So it's to ask ourselves, what is it that the white people have that we don't have? And once we are able to get a hold of that, absolutely, we can change the system. So where the white master is, we put a black person there.
Okay.
So if we are able to put a black person there, then the doors will be open for all other black people to come in and be in that space.
Okay.
But again, it becomes false consciousness, because we do have black people at the top.
We do. We've been saying this the whole conversation.
The ANC is at the top. It's black people, but again, we are still oppressed. And why? That's because they have assimilated into the capitalist society. So,
it's a very difficult conversation. It's very difficult conversation.
Yeah, I think we must knock on all doors. We must push ourselves inside. We must enter these doors, we must go where the white man tells us not to go. We must enter by force, because it won't do us justice where we're sitting at home and not doing and taking action. We must enter these spaces. We must fight for our voices to be heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add on top of what Lebo said to say that black people kind of have like a low self-esteem because of they're black, right?
Okay.
So just because of they're black, they think that they won't even make it to the top like other white people, right? Look at Cyril Ramaphosa. He's black. He's still president. So I feel like if we fight for what's ours, fight for our ideas to be heard, right? Yeah, I think that could also work.
Okay, so we're talking about like we need to enter to those doors, and then we need to change the system by force, and then I want us to talk about education. We keep on saying education is the key to success, and education is the key to success, but we never talk about we never get around conversations about like what is it that we're being taught. Are we being taught to open those doors? Are we being taught to, you know, sit behind those doors and then knock, you know, softly, and then, you know, just pat the master on the shoulder and be like, you know what, let me get inside and stuff like that? What are we being taught? Like this education that is the key to us, to this liberation. What is it? What is this education?
I hear what you're saying. I think I'm going to talk about two things. The first one is to say this education that they are talking about, if you study stuff like politics and international relations, and this is where consciousness comes in, you need to ask yourself, what is the education that they're telling us? Are they telling us an education which is about an imperialist education? Are they telling us about the West, or are they telling us about us being black? And secondly, I always told Lebu that which careers are black people pursuing? Because I believe that the university prepares you for a workforce. It doesn't prepare you to go to the top. It prepares you to be a human resource assistant. It prepares you to enter the building, but not at the top. So we need to have a very thorough study of which degrees is it that people are. For example, another reason why South Africa is not developed would be because maybe we don't have enough accountants, engineers, STEM degrees basically. And the few people who do then go and do those STEM degrees, who are they? It's the white people. So they're able to enter the door. But again, who is controlling that engineering company which we're talking about? It's the white people. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I always say the classroom must be, or the lecture room must be the battle of ideas, where we contest our ideas, where we can, as black people, produce our own ideas, learn about our own stories, and, you know, shape our political structure, you know. So I think it's very important that, yes, we also decolonize this education and, yeah, change the system, you know. And also, I think it's like Wanga was saying, I think it's good we start with the structure. We overthrow the structure, we take the economy into our hands, so we are the ones who shape our future, who shape our knowledge production, you know, who can make South Africa or Africa feel like a black world where we can finally exist as black people. Yeah,
I want to put like a follow-up question, you know, something we can discuss on the language. You get what I'm saying? Like literature is very, very important. You know, it's not just about being educated, it's about how you're being educated. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't know how to express yourself in English, but you know you have the idea in your own language. You can you know, you can just discuss it in your own language, but you can't discuss it in English. And then what about that? What about language? The language that we've been taught in, you know. And
absolutely.
Do you think that also need to be decolonized, or do we need to teach everyone how to speak English?
Absolutely. I think it goes to, if you look at institutions like Northwest or Stellenbosch, they have this system where there's an English class and an Afrikaans class, and you can choose which one you want to. And there are situations where there's only an Afrikaans class, and the kids who their mother tongue is not Afrikaans will have to wear earphones for them to be able to hear what the lecturer is saying. And if institutions like that can exist, even institutions where we can have a white class and a Zulu or Sotho class can also exist. And when you talk about the language, I think for me it also goes to lecturers. If you can have a black lecturer for a class which is populated by black students, it makes it easy, because if you want to express your idea, it will be easy for you to do so, because he'll be able to hear you because it's Venek. So yes, absolutely, the language matters also. And I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I do believe that if you are able to, because the English is not the main thing, is to be able to hear what someone is saying. So if someone can be able to express or articulate what they want to say in their mother tongue, then so be it. Because like it starts by that, to say, why is English superior? Why must we be able to, the same way we have, there are schools where your home language will be in Sesotho, and it means that all your subjects, same thing with university, I think so.
Yeah, 100% agree with Wanga. Because there's some students, especially in first year level, that I saw that have brilliant ideas, but they cannot articulate themselves because of English, you know, and there's a barrier, you know. So I think it's very important that we also decolonize the language question, that black people are also able to express themselves in these institutions. Yeah.
Okay, so on the topic of language, right, you get sometimes when you're in a classroom, right, there's someone who knows like political jargon, they know like these big words, and then there's someone who, you know, they speak simple English, you get what I'm saying, and then there is like some sort of treatment for those kind of people. It's like you know, you could have just said this, you know, you could, instead of saying aware, you could have just said conscious, you know. They just, you know, what about that, you know, for people who know just enough English, they don't know like too much,
which is exactly what I said to you, false consciousness. So even the standard, the standard which you need to have, so there's a standard which is set for how good English you should speak, and that standard, it's according to whiteness. So, and that is what the system is built to do. It's to make black people fight amongst themselves, where in the blackness there must be a hierarchy of who is most closely assimilated to whiteness. And how do we measure that? Do you have white friends? How good English do you speak? So it's a false consciousness where you're told to come to these institutions, you meet people who speak a specific way, and for you to be able to integrate and fully assimilate and to be able to relate to those people, you must speak like them. So that is where I believe black consciousness comes in, to be able to realize that it's not about how you sound, the words you use, but to be able to say exactly what it is that you want to say. And that is, I think that is outside whiteness now. It's a thing that black people must be able to realize, to say the standard is not whiteness. The standard is not being able to articulate yourself in a good way, but it's for someone or the person you're talking to be able to comprehend what you're saying.
I just wanted to highlight how inequalities and lack of access to quality education like lead to exploitation, right? Say for instance, like, okay, let me just put it like this. Like, black people are very smart. Black people are very smart. And for the fact that they lack how to speak English, how to articulate themselves, makes them to be exploited. A black person can, for instance, create a robot and then maybe get people or fans, maybe white people who owns companies, and then maybe they build that robot. But because of they can't read the contract, they don't know how to read, they didn't go to school, they lack quality education or knowledge, they are being exploited in a way by they even sell their things at a very lesser price, right? I just wanted to highlight that. That's why like Wanga was stating that, or emphasizing that education is very important. So
okay, so I feel like if we are going to have like conversations around, you know, decolonizing the education, decolonizing, you know, all the institutions and stuff like that, we like, there are so many ways to do that, you get what I'm saying? Like, we have so many starting points. Like, we have to start with the mere literature, you know, teaching people how to read, teaching people how to, you know, and also the conversations about in which language are we going to, you know, and then we're gonna go, from there we're gonna go to the institutions, you know, what is it that people are learning and stuff like that, and then from there we're gonna go to the mechanisms that people can use to the youth. Actually, let's just talk about the youth uses to influence, you know, this, you know, everything that is going on and stuff like that. And I think it was a very good conversation to have. And then now I want us to talk about the idea of black is beautiful. You get what I'm saying? Because we've been talking about, like, you know, decolonizing this, you know, from here, the mind and stuff like that. What about black is beautiful? You know, it's not just like as a slogan, you know. What does it mean to you when someone is saying, oh, what's this thing, label, being black is being beautiful? What does it mean to you?
Sorry, I think it distorts the notion that equates whiteness to beauty, and literally, you know, questions the idea that whiteness is equivalent to perfection, you know, and distorts also the fact that there's something intrinsically wrong with black people. That's why they are suffering. That's why they're going through a lot of different things, you know. So it distorts that notion and says, you know what, there's nothing wrong with black people. You are completely perfect and beautiful, you know. And these notions are just false, and they are a way to mask the atrocities that white people commit, Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you read a lot of books on Biko and Fanon, I think it's very important, especially for the generation before us, because being told that, I feel like the white people, the oppressors, convinced black people that they're inferior so much they started to believe it. And the mind is so powerful, so they literally started to believe that, okay, maybe something is wrong with me. So hearing that black is beautiful, it's kind of like an affirmation to say there's nothing wrong with you. Like, yes, maybe the system is bad, yes, maybe things are not as good as they're supposed to be, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And consciousness is important, because if internally you can accept the fact that there's nothing wrong with me, it becomes easy to have the confidence to get into the doors. Because how do you fight when because you don't believe in it? Because if you're fighting and you know that, no man, there's nothing wrong with me, it makes it easier to win the fight. But if you're fighting but deep down you're like, maybe something is wrong with me, then it makes it difficult. So yeah, like she says, to distort the notion that there is something wrong with you, and to break that comparison. Because I think in black consciousness, Biko speaks so much about, leave the white people, take them out. They don't include them in everything. It's just about you, that you're enough, you're beautiful, and that's okay. Outside of being white, not that you're better than white, not that white is better than nothing, just you, that you are enough.
You want to say something? Okay, so the point that even the idea that we're having a conversation about black is beautiful, the fact that you have to tell yourself that black is beautiful, it shows that we are coming from like a very inhumane environment and stuff like that, but like, let's talk about black is beautiful from like the youth's perspective. When people say, oh, black is beautiful, what do they mean? Do they mean, are they trying to shut that down, the notion that they're not beautiful or they're not worthy of freedom or stuff? Or is it because of like they're talking about like the outer beauty? A yellow bone, can a yellow bone say, like, I'm black and I'm beautiful?
Yes. Firstly, do you want to go first?
No, it's fine.
I was gonna say, firstly, two things. Yes, firstly, the appearance. They're saying that there's nothing wrong with your afro. They're saying that there's nothing wrong with your black skin, but blackness is not just the color of your skin, it's a state of being. So Lebo might be light skinned, but when she says I'm black is beautiful, she does not necessarily mean just being her skin. She means my culture is beautiful. She means being Tswana is beautiful. She means that it's more than just how you look, but how you look plays a part also. So it's saying that your afro is beautiful, but it's also saying that being Venda is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add on what she was basically saying. Like, it removes that whole notion that our cultures are wrong, our cultures are primitive, It takes back, it gives us a sense of being, black is beautiful. It brings us respect to the conquered and dispossessed black person. Yeah.
Do you guys think that this is what people mean by black is beautiful? Like, let's say the people who are not aware of like the kind of oppression that we're in, because most of the time black is beautiful is just as a slogan, to say, what, we're selling afro wigs, black is beautiful. Oh, we're selling a nude lip liner, black is beautiful. So I want us to talk about that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It as a slogan,
As
because
a slogan.
we have talked about it as
Okay.
the reality. What does it really mean? But now I want us to talk about it as a slogan. You get what I'm saying?
I hear
What
what you're
does it
saying.
mean as a slogan? Does it mean that, at least try to be black in this way, or does it
Okay.
mean that it is what it is?
I hear you. I think you're giving to the idea that sometimes it's even abused, where it's used in a sense for marketing purposes, where like what you're saying, why must you be told like black is beautiful? You should automatically know it. So yes, I think most people who are not fully conscious of their being, when they think black is beautiful, they don't think deep into it. They just think the idea that, we've been convinced that white weaves or black frontals are, better, Indian hair, Peruvian hair. So even afros are beautiful. So here you go, buy an afro hair because it's also beautiful. So I hear what you're saying.
Okay, So I want to talk about the whole black is beautiful and the idea of individualism.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? And because I feel like we choose what is it that we want to do. If I want to put on a wig as a black woman,
Yeah.
I'll put on a wig. I'll put on a wig as a black woman. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But like, where does that take us? As if we, where does that put us? If we want to achieve the true meaning of black is beautiful, and then we have these people who they want to buy wigs because that does not mean that I'm not black. I'm just buying it because I like it. I don't like it. I'm not buying it because someone who's white wears this kind
Wears
of
it. I
texture
just
and stuff
like it.
that. I just like it. What about that? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you think that is something that we need to address? You get what I'm saying? Because that, on a serious, it is individualism. People can do whatever that they want to do. It is their life. You get what I'm saying? What do you guys think about that? Do you guys
I
have
hear
like
you.
a say on that?
I was gonna say I don't believe in this notion of freedom. I think there's no I want a weave because that's what I want. I think it looks nice on me. You are controlled by your environment. So you think it's normal because people around you are wearing it. So the idea to say, oh, I just want to be an individual and this is what I want. No, it's not there. It's you are controlled by what you see. If you come to a space where people wear weaves, you start to wear weaves and you think it's normal. And the question then should be, who's saying it's normal to wear weaves, you know? But no, I don't think it comes from... There's nothing wrong with wearing weaves. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong, you know. We love beautiful ladies in frontals. But it's the idea to say, you think it's nice because you've been told that is what's nice or that's what's acceptable, and you don't know it. That's the crazy thing. You don't know that you've been told that's what's acceptable because you were born in a space or in an environment where that's just how it is.
Okay, so we have people who prefer wigs over their natural hair. Not to say that it does not look beautiful, but because, you know, the society, the life that we live in.
I just feel like people are trying to fit in. Yeah.
So you think the whole trying to change themselves is them trying to fit in?
Yes.
So, but what
Because
if
of
they
why?
okay.
Because of why would you not like comb your afro, go wherever you want? Like why wouldn't you want to do that? Right?
Okay.
Why would you want to buy a frontal? Because of black is beautiful, right? I think and I believe that everyone is unique in their own way, right? And it's very important for us as black people to embrace our culture, our hair and stuff like that, right? So,
Okay, so what about, I understand where you guys are coming from, you get what I'm saying, but what about the maintaining an afro? Let's start there. Maintaining an afro. What if people are genuinely just tired of maintaining their afro and they just prefer wigs because it's just like you put on and stuff like that. What is like it's just genuine, you know? I just want to get your point on that. You get what I'm saying? What if it is really, really, really genuine? It is not because of that, you know.
Do you want to go, Shila? I think that's okay, you know. I think part of freedom is being able to choose what you want, and as long as it's coming from a point of be choosing it because that's really what you want. But what do you mean maintaining a weave is it's costly? Because not a weave, maintaining an afro, because you can do cornrows. Maintaining a frontal is also expensive. You install today, 2 weeks later you need to install again. It's even expensive for that matter. So I don't think that's a good base to say it's because maintaining my afro is difficult. But if it's coming from a point of I just want it because I think it's nice, then that's okay.
Okay, so I want us also to talk about the whole idea of like maintaining an afro, maintaining your skin as a black person, maintaining, you know, acne and stuff, like just being yourself. You get what I'm saying? How about that? Do you think that the idea of maintaining being black is hard, something that comes from black people, or something that someone somewhere constructed it and he was like, you know what, for you to, you know, I can see that it's very hard for you to maintain that afro. Let me get you this. Let me, you know, let me help you here. Let me help you here. Do you think this was constructed by someone who is not black, or it was from experience, people were like, you know what, we need something else. We need something else because it's very, very hard to maintain being black. Or was it someone who is, say, white, who said, you know what, I can see that you are struggling with maintaining being black. Let me give you some. Let me give an alternative and stuff like that. And we're not, and then we're not saying that people don't wear weaves and don't do all those things because they don't feel. Sometimes it's just genuine. It's just from like they're genuinely tired of maintaining.
Should I go first though? I think I was going to say that it's, for example, people who have very big afros. Remember there was once an incident where at Pretoria Girls High School, there was this girl, she once came, Zuleika, who held a whole protest because at the school they don't want the girls to have very big afros. So again, you think maintaining the afro is it's costly or it's high maintenance because you are even told how to wear the afro. If you look at people like Abon Dlozi, he wears his hair without combing it, very African way. So even in being black, you're told how to be black, how to wear your hair, how to maintain your skin and all of that. But if you look at the essence of it, people like Ndlozi, his hair maintenance is probably not even that much because he's very like, I don't comb it and I'm okay with it. So the problem comes in with the fact that even in that afro, you're told on how to discipline it, how to control it or how to tame it to not be too loud, because if it's too loud then it's going to shine too much. So yes, I don't think, yes, I think so. And like you're saying, the introduction of the weaves and everything, it was to say black people live up with this idea to say, I need to assimilate into this culture. They don't call it the white culture. It's just, I need to assimilate into this culture, but it's the white culture. Because the hair, whose hair is it? It's Indians and all of that. So, yes, I think so. The whole thing, you makeup, hair, it's done to make you change who you are so that you can better assimilate and fit into a culture which is not really yours. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think we have touched something that I want us to explore. We have touched what's this thing? Being taught how to be black. You get what I'm saying? I feel like we keep on going back to it. Like, you know what? Even though you wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what, in your mirror and you're like, you know what, black is beautiful. When you get outside, someone is like, black is beautiful when you maintain it like this. When you do this, it is beautiful. When you do this, it is not. When you do this, it kind of makes you beautiful, but like, it will be better if you do it this way. So I want us to have conversations about what you guys think about being told how to be black. You get what I'm saying? Let's say not just afros and stuff like that, your body type. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you're black and then it's how you are. What about those things?
I feel like this ideological framework shapes and tells the black person how to be. Like, a black person should be this certain way, a black person should be this type of way. It constructs the black image and goes in with the topic that we are the white man's burden. Like, white people have this, they think they have this God-given right to tell us what to do, how to do certain things without us having our own anatomy over our own lives and how we govern ourselves, how we evolve our culture. So basically, as I was saying, most of the things are structured within whiteness and are situated within whiteness, and to be white is to be good, whereas to be black is to be at the bottom of the level. So that's what I think. Most things are constructed within whiteness.
Okay. Anyone wants to say something?
No, I think she covered.
Okay. So like you were saying that the whole conversation, we're being told how to be, and who is telling us how to be black when they are not black? We have to also talk about that. Like, why are you telling me that my afro should be combed when you can see how it grows? It's always tangled. Don't tell me to detangle it. If I feel like I don't want to detangle it, then I don't want to detangle it. You get what I'm saying? And then, like you were saying, with the white man's burden. You get what I'm saying? It's like, oh man, the way your afro is so uncomfortable to me. You get what I'm saying? The way you're built is so uncomfortable. Your color is so uncomfortable. Take this cream. Do something about it. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like these are the kind of conversations that we're not ready to have. You get what I'm saying? Black people are not ready to have the conversations that, you know what, we are thrown these things by someone who is not us, someone who is black, who's saying, you know what, you can come a little bit closer to being white if you do this. If you comb your hair, you know, we will still control you, but you will be closer. You know, don't be too opposite to us, because when your afro is too tangled, it just makes me uncomfortable, and you're too far from me. I want you closer, and I want to, you know, control you closer. What you guys have?
Just to add into what you were saying, I was going to talk about, if you look at the history of the black culture, nudity isn't, for example, in the Zulu culture. Back then, women used to walk without wearing shirts.
Yeah.
And black men were not like enticed by it. It wasn't like, oh my God, you know, it was normal. And then the white people came, and because of body shapes, because black women are very beautiful and, you know, beautifully shaped, then because they were not used to that, they then told us that we need to cover up. That if you guys are a bit too big, you're a bit too, you know, you must cover up. But the black culture was never like that. And now it has been changed so much that you can't walk around without wearing a shirt. But in the Zulu culture particularly, it was a normal thing. So what they did is that in all of this, and cover up, comb your hair, it was called civilization. To say, we're making you more human. Yeah. But who was to say that we were not human then?
Exactly.
You know, it's just a different culture. But like what you're saying, it's just the idea to say, no, do this so that at least you can be assimilated into the culture. But you're never fully going to be white. They don't forget to remind you that you're never ever fully, even if you can bleach your skin and wear the whitest hair, you're never fully going to be white, but you can try, you know, so that at least you can coexist with us.
Okay. And I think this is a conversation we can have another day, but I like what was the thing you said about nudity.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Like the way people were just so free before then. You get what I'm saying? Yes. Now if you are outside and with you're wearing a short skirt, you're sexualized. You get what I'm saying? You get to a point where you're raped. And then when things like that happen, they're like, what were you wearing? What were you showing this man? You get what I'm saying? And then it's used against us, but that's a conversation for another day. So from the conversation that we had, we unpacked a lot of things. We unpacked the mind, we unpacked the decolonizing, the structure, we unpacked a lot of things, education, black is beautiful, the mind, and all those things. And I want to hear from our table what they want to say.
I just want to encourage every black person out there to participate in politics, to participate in activism, to change the world and burn the world as we know it.
I just want to say, like Fanon says, every generation must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it in its relative opacity. You also mentioned that the point of the world is not to know it, but to change it. And I believe that the youth is not lost. It's not lost. And although there are a few who are not yet conscious, but we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And my hope is that things become better, and we don't, in years to come, we don't sit around and discuss being black, because being black is a norm. Because white people don't sit around like this and discuss being white. So it's very unfair that black people have to sit around and discuss their blackness. So my hope is that everyone who is black loves being black and finally gets to a point where they're okay with it.
I just want to say that I wish and I hope that black people embrace their culture, embrace their blackness, because of black is beautiful. If you as a black person, you don't embrace blackness, then who should do that? Because of white people do embrace their whiteness. And also I believe and hope that one day the youth would come together and be conscious of who they are. Yeah, thank you.